Sisters in Service. This is Kat Corchado, and welcome to episode 10. I am interviewing Dr. Ann James, an Air Force retiree and an entrepreneur. She received her doctorate of education in organizational leadership, and she's an accredited financial counselor who coaches people on their financial health and puts them on the path to financial freedom. Dr. Ann has been featured in USA Today, The Penny Hoarder, and has also been a guest on the Talk Wealth to Me and Veterans Be Real podcast. Dr. Ann, welcome to Sisters in Service.
Thank you so much, Kat. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on the show. When I found out that you were a financial advisor, counselor, I never know what to use. Maybe I'll ask a question about what the difference is. But I was like, wow, this is really relevant, especially in today's society. So thank you so much for saying yes to be on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to get in front of your audience. And yeah, you're so right that with everything that's going on right now, just having our financial houses in order is so very important. And yeah, I can tell you the difference between the advisor and the counselor and the coach later on. But yeah.
Good. Awesome. Because I don't know. And if I don't know, I'm sure there are other people that don't know either. So, Dr. Ann, tell us about your service. What did you do in the military?
Yes, I'm a proud Air Force veteran, the world's greatest Air Force. Yeah, Kat, actually, I went into the military right after high school. I wanted to get money for college and to travel. My mother was a single parent at the time, so she wasn't, able to afford. I shouldn't say she wasn't able to afford. I didn't want to put that burden on her, more or less.
Absolutely.
So my brother, one of my oldest brothers, he was already in the Air Force. And one summer I went to visit him and I liked what I saw. And I enlisted in the Air Force as a personnelist. That can be human resources, I think, for non-Air Force type. From there, my first duty station was South Dakota. And then I went overseas and, got married and got divorced and got pregnant. All in a short time frame. So
life happened.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But that's really where I found myself, stationed overseas. Mm-hmm. I guess, once becoming a single parent, that it was no longer, about me. It was about my daughter who subsequently got diagnosed with special needs. So that really changed everything for me, the trajectory of my life. My finances was jacked up. So through self-education and pulled myself up out of the trenches and got my financial house in order on my journey to financial freedom. And during that time, I figured, if I'm going to stay in the military, I might as well make the most of it, because at about the 10-year mark, Kat, I was going to get out. I didn't like it. I didn't like.
I think we all have to wrestle with that.
Yeah.
10-year.
Yeah, I was going to get out because I didn't like my boss. I didn't like the duty station I was at. But thankfully somebody encouraged me and said, "Ann, don't let one person make a lifelong decision for you." So I decided if I was going to stay in, I did what most people call, I went to the dark side. I got earned my commission.
Oh. I did not know that. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, I earned my commission as a much older, second lieutenant, starting over. But, I made it known I wasn't your average lieutenant. And they could tell that. So once I became an officer, I switched over from personnel to finance. Once again, my love for finance just grew. I was an Air Force ROTC instructor at the University of South Carolina. I love that job because I was molding the future officers, of the Air Force. So I can take my enlisted experience and, meld it together and my experience as an officer and mold these young minds.
I think some of the best bosses I ever had or supervisors were people who were prior enlisted and then became officer because they got it. They understood.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite assignment? And then what was your not so favorite assignment?
Wow. Okay. So I would say my favorite assignment was my second one when I got stationed, when I left South Dakota and went to Italy. I was
Mm.
stationed in San Vito,
Oh,
Italy. It has now closed. And it was my favorite because that's where my daughter was born.
yeah. I never got to go to Italy.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been wanting to go, they always put you where they need you. So
exactly.
obviously they didn't need me in Italy, but I would have gone.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So Italy was my favorite. And my
Mhm.
worst assignment, I would say, was Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas.
Ooh,
That's
I
where I was
remember
going to die.
Dias.
Yeah.
Is that one closed too
No,
now, or
Dyess
is it
is
still
still
open?
open. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still open.
Dyess is
Wow.
still around.
Who knew? Like
Yeah,
Texas keeps all them bases open. They're like, we're not getting rid of any of them.
exactly. So that was my worst one. I was going to get out, but thankfully someone changed my mind. But Dyess was the worst one.
So let's talk about your business. Tell us why you started a financial coaching business.
Yeah, the main reason why I started my business, Kat, like I mentioned, early on in my military career, I was stationed overseas and I found myself in a doctor's office. My daughter was about maybe 4 years old at the time. And I took her in for a checkup, because she had did some things late, like walked late, so I noticed that she wasn't speaking at the rate that um, I would have liked. So I took her to what I thought was a normal checkup. But I remember the doctor coming in and saying that, while there's nothing physically wrong with her, she's developmentally delayed, which is now called autism.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just like, freaked out. I was like, what does that mean? I had never heard of
Puts
that,
your world upside down.
Yeah,
You're not sure what it is. So yeah, I totally
exactly.
get that.
Yeah, so I was like, what does that mean? Does this mean she would live with me forever? You know what I mean? Forever, ever? So after that incident on the ride home, I remember driving in a car. Something my mother always told me was that you always have to put yourself in a position to take care of you and your children. And I knew that at the time, how I was handling my life and my finances, I had a car I couldn't afford. My credit cards was maxed out, that type stuff. So it was at that moment I made the decision that I had to change my life around, especially in regards to my money. So by following a plan, I was able to pay off over $300,000 in 2.5 years. I went from a negative net worth to a positive seven-figure net worth. Um, so by doing that on my own, I just wanted to show other individuals that if I, as a single mother, can do it, so can they.
Right.
So that's, why I ended up starting my business, Financial Freedom Battle Buddies, is to really
Mhm.
help women, veterans, those that are still serving or those that have served, to help them regain control and conquer the battle over their finances. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I was just thinking about something, and when I was growing up, my parents didn't teach me anything about how to handle money. My dad would say, "Well, you got to save money." And you're like, "Okay, well, how do I do that?" I don't know how to do that. And then I went into the military. I was a single parent, and then it's all about, you're just trying to save money, to live, because we all know that, people in the military make lots of money. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Okay.
Um, and so I find that a lot of times people in my age bracket are behind the power curve as far as what to do with money, how to save money. I'm just now kind of getting a handle on it, and I'm older. Okay. I'm older, but I'm a late bloomer, so things come to me late,
There you go.
but do you still see that people are having financial issues? Do you still see this now in today's society, that people know nothing about what to do or how to handle their finances?
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, similar to yourself, my money wasn't talked about in my family either growing up, versus, oh, you spent that much on those clothes, type stuff, but it wasn't talked about.
Exactly.
So, Yeah, I think that is definitely, one of the reasons why some people, as you mentioned, like yourself, may find themselves behind the power curve or whatever have you. I'm definitely here to tell you and others it's never too late to start your journey. It's never too late to learn something new. I think a lot of people, you can Google anything, right? That's why I
Mhm.
tell my clients or those that come to me, okay, you can Google how to create a budget, whatever have you. Information is at your fingertip. But if
Mhm.
you don't know how to implement it or you need that additional accountability, right? We have the
Right.
best intentions, but
Right.
sometimes we need somebody holding our feet to the fire, especially like ourselves, being single. We didn't have anyone, well, I don't have anyone to answer to, so I can do whatever I want with my money. So I thought,
Right.
so really when you're able to get that accountability and someone to hold your feet to the fire, to go along with you and guide you on this journey, to help
Mhm.
educate you on things that didn't learn in the past, and also to overcome some limiting beliefs that you might have within yourself about money. So that's really where it starts as well.
That's huge. Growing up, my dad had, he was in the military, but, he would have maybe a second job on the side. So I grew up thinking that if you need more money, just get another job. And sometimes it's not about how much money, it's how to manage the money that you have coming in. Now, granted, there are times when you don't have enough because,
Right.
you just don't, and you need that extra income. And I understand that. But sometimes people are making a lot of money, but they're like, oh, I don't have any money to save. But, they got some nice clothes, they got some brand
Mhm.
new Nikes.
Exactly. Yeah, you hit it on
So,
the head is managing well what you have.
okay, something needs to change.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned earlier, my aha moment came on the drive home from leaving the doctor's office, getting a diagnosis about my daughter and my mother's comments in my ear, so that's when I realized that I had to change how I was living or how I was handling my money. So one of the first things that I did, I started self-educating myself. Like I said, it wasn't something that I was taught at home or taught in school. So I started reading books, Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, back in the day at the
Back in the
military,
day,
Air Force
yeah.
bases, yeah, they used to offer, the chapel used to offer what's called Financial Peace University. And
Mhm.
I took advantage of that and I hit the ground running. So um, really the method that I follow is what I now call my battle plan. I went to battle with my money. And if I can, yeah, I did. And that's made up of 6 different parts. The B stands for believing in yourself. You have to believe that you can live this lifestyle. And by hanging
Mhm.
around other people that help me, see if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's what the B stands for. The A stands for assess your priority. What's important to you? Why are you doing this? What's going to carry you through the long haul? For me, my priority was my daughter, making the military a career, so forth. So assess your priority. The first T stands for track your numbers. I truly believe that before you can even get started, you have to figure out where you are, where you stand. And there's a key set of numbers that you should track. So tracking my numbers was important. And then the next T in battle stands for tackle debt. Yeah, that's
Mm,
where I went in
that's
hard.
tricky.
Everything I had extra was going through to my debt. I had a plan, snowball method, so forth. So tackle debt. L stands for level up your giving and saving. So once I start freeing up money, I, started to save on what's important to me. And another aspect that's important is started to give, tithing, and, you know, um, just helping others where I could, because in the past I was a tightwad. I was like, don't ask me for money. I'm single. I ain't got no husband. Don't ask me for nothing. So
I
I
have zero,
Yeah,
zero
I had
money.
to level up or learn, I should say, how to give, but I had to level that up. And then the E of my battle plan stands for evaluate and celebrate. So really, you evaluate how things are going because you have to be flexible. just because you create a plan for yourself is not set in stone. So I had to take time to be like, is this working? What do I need to do? And the most important part for me was the celebration part, celebrating those milestones along my
Oh,
journey
yeah.
so that I don't get
Yeah.
discouraged, you know? So I rewarded myself.
Right.
Oh, I paid off 10,000 worth of debt. Okay, well, I'm going to go buy these shoes that I like. You have to reward
You
yourself, and
have
there's
to.
nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
following that battle plan, like I said, is how I was able to turn my financial situation around.
I think sometimes too, people are afraid to. I think it was the first T where people, you have to look at how much you owe. And I think people are just scared to see that number because personally, I see big numbers and I start hyperventilating. Like when I buy a car, I can't go buy a car. I mean, I can pick it out and I'm like, okay, you go deal. I tell my husband, you go deal with that,
Yeah.
Buying a house, it was just very, I'm better now, but you have to know the truth before you can start to fix it. And sometimes the truth is worse than you think it is, but you just take a couple breaths and say, okay, where do I start? So I totally get that because I've been there.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the biggest issue do you think people have with their finances right now?
Oh, it's just so many. Everybody's situation is different, but if I had to pick out one, is not having a plan in place before the money hits their account. They're being reactionary. They know what bills, okay, I got my rent, I got my car payment, they know like those fixed type things that they have to pay, but it's those
Right.
unexpected expenses that, when you don't track them, they eat away, at what you may have. So not having a plan in place for your money before it hits your account, I would say
Right.
that's one of the biggest downfalls. Yeah.
It is. I actually have one of Dave Ramsey's books, and he said, look, before you do anything, get $1,000 in the bank in savings and
Yeah.
leave it there.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it's kind of nice, that if something happens, I can say, okay, let's, it's, my husband said, well, just use the money in savings. No, that's an emergency fund.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's an emergency. Yeah.
It's not a want, it's an absolute need.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a great point, Dave Ramsey. That's his first baby step. The emergency, the emergency fund, like you said, gives you a sense of security, right? To know, okay, if I get a flat tire, I have this money over here that I don't have to charge it on a charge card. It breaks, hopefully, that charging mentality, paying for your future now type of mentality. So yeah, I definitely
absolutely
understand. Yeah.
So tell us about your Conquer Your Coins course. How does it have a start time? How long is the course? How do you have access to it, etc.?
Yes, my new course, Conquer Your Coins, is going to be launching with the new year. And basically, as I mentioned, it's a self-paced course, but made up of videos and workbooks, but it really walks individuals through that battle plan that I mentioned, the B, the A, the T, the L, the E type stuff, and how they can implement it in their lives. So like it's 8 weeks, as I mentioned, it's self-paced, but a bonus with signing up when I offer it is that they can add on a session with me, because I really believe that the accountability piece, is key, but I also know that people like to do stuff on their own time versus in a group environment. So that's why I started out with this self-paced course, but it's really to, once again, help people to reset their finances, especially after 2020. If you've experienced income loss or job loss, or, your finances are just upside down, to give you a great starting point or a plan to start with for 2021 going forward. So that's what Conquer Your Coins is about.
Right. Yeah. I think when I was doing my savings account, there were times when, I might only have $10 and I was like, okay, let me just put that $10 over there. But, $10 here, $20 here, $40 here adds up.
It adds up. Absolutely. And it's funny that you say that. Just yesterday, I made a post about, for the military, like the BAH rates, it came out for 2021 came out, right? So one of the things is I'm like, okay, you were living off of this amount previously. Now, if you got an increase, Why don't you just save that difference? Because you're used to living off of this lower amount. So people, like you said, they don't think, oh, it's only $40. Well, that $40, that's $480 over a year.
There you go.
So it really, it starts, with the Conquer Your Coins. Once again, it starts with your mindset, because you have to learn how to look at money differently. You have to get out of the, oh, it's only, oh, that's too big. Like you said, oh, that big old number. Okay, well, yeah, it's a big number, but we can break it down into smaller pieces. So it really starts with how you look at your money. Before you can make any type of long-term change, you have to change your behavior and your thoughts and how you think about money, how you speak about money, going forward. So
Well, I think even saving money, you think $1,000 seems like a huge number. So I have to chunk it down.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I was like, okay, let me get to 50. And then I was like, okay, now do 100. Okay. And then I would keep, I celebrated when I got to $500. I was like, okay.
Yes.
I'm on my way,
Yeah.
But it's a little bit at a time. And I think the other thing that helped me is that I have money automatically taken out and just put in a savings account. So I don't see it. If I don't see it, I'm not going to touch it. But if it's there, I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I've been thinking about these shoes that I wanted.
There you go. You hit on two great points, right? To automate your savings, get it out of don't let it hit your account for one, and put it in an account that you don't see all the time. Like over here in La La Land, it's going to take you don't have a debit card for it. You're going to have to transfer it. So that may take 2 or 3 days, that type of stuff. So you definitely want to automate it. And like you mentioned too, take that big number, okay, $1,000 in 6 months, break it down in little milestones, and you can do that easily if you're more intentional. That's the thing. You'll get to $1,000 quicker than you realize if you're more intentional with your actions.
Absolutely. You can't just think it and want it. I want to win the lottery, but, but you have to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And some paydays were just, okay, I can only afford this much, but I kept doing it anyway, and, I realized that, in today's society, it's a little bit different in this COVID era. But here's a question for you. I was reading your bio and you said 54% of military personnel live paycheck to paycheck. Why is this so prevalent? So before you answer that, I was paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
And I remember this was before direct deposit, y'all. Yes, I'm old. I'm like 85. Okay.
Girl, but
I like that. And I would have $10 left over after paying everything. And I would fold it up in quarters and I'll place it in my wallet for those little things like if I needed milk or bread or something, why is this so prevalent now? Is this still prevalent now? I guess that's my question.
It definitely is still prevalent. I think the statistic that you mentioned really applies more so with enlisted ranks, living, in the military, living paycheck to paycheck. Because as you said, people think the military make a lot of money. We don't. It's just the security of it, right? It's the first and the 15th. Yes, when you add in all the other benefits like medical and housing and clothing allowance, it's pretty nice in comparison to the civilians. But if you're thinking about that young enlisted airman or soldier, first time like me, first time away from home, go stone crazy shopping. Oh, I know I get paid in 2 weeks. So I'm shopping, buying cars I can't afford because I can afford the payment because I know I'm going to get paid. Yeah. Right? So it's that we were never taught how to manage money. We were never taught to, when you're in your 20s, you're not thinking about retirement. No, you're talking about the here and now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we get in above our heads. I think the military is doing a better job now when individuals go through basic training or you get to your first duty station to give them basic financial management training.
Oh, so I wish I'd had that when I was in. Yeah. You just went in and you figured it out, Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're doing better, but it goes back to not having a plan for their money. You know what I'm saying? They're living above their means. They're going crazy. They have the stability of this paycheck for the first time in their lives. And it isn't, just for young people. As you mentioned too, okay, some older people, as you make more money, more problems.
Right.
Right?
And you spend more, you make more, you spend more
Exactly.
because you think, I deserve this,
I deserve it. I can
Right.
afford it. I got the stability of the paycheck, that type stuff. Or even for us veterans, once we transition out, that's the big difference too. So you
Oh,
go
that's
from,
huge.
if you didn't retire like we did. So if you just transition out, so now you don't have the stability of that paycheck at the first of the 15th. Now you don't have the benefits. Yeah, hopefully, once you get in with the VA, that might take a while. If you get service rated compensation, that may take a while. So people just get into, unfortunately, find themselves in a rat race sometimes where they fall behind due to unfortunate circumstances. And then it causes them to start living paycheck to paycheck. But it's not nothing that can't be turned around. That's the big
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I understand that you're a financial counselor.
Yes.
And so what's the difference between a financial counselor and a financial advisor?
Great question. I hear that all the time. The main difference is when you're dealing with financial advisors, they're giving you investment advice. They're selling you mutual funds and maybe insurance and stuff like that. Where a financial counselor or a financial coach isn't doing that. We provide non-biased information because we're not trying to sell, besides our services, we're not trying to sell you any external products. Okay, you should invest in this mutual fund or this retirement account. I don't give any type of investment advice aside for, okay, if you want to start planning for retirement, I have great relationships with advisors and I can refer them to financial advisors, but that's a big ethical thing. If you start giving advice as a counselor or as a coach, when you're stepping over your realm, so as you become certified, that's one of the things that you have to make sure that you do not do. So that's the main difference between an advisor and a counselor or a coach.
That's awesome. See, I just learned something today. You're never too old to learn something new.
Yeah. And some people, once again, some advisors, they do the personal finance, like me, the budgeting and the debt, but that's not where they make their money.
Right.
So that's not where they take their time. They trying to get you to, oh yeah, if you can free up this money, then you can invest it. Because their percentage is tied to that commission of, what you're investing.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold on to money, not, make you rich or somebody else.
Yeah, not make you rich over the long term, and that's the thing,
Right.
About my services is a one-time, either, a 3-month or a 6-month coaching program, but it's not like, oh, every time you invest in this Roth IRA, I'm getting a piece of it. It's not that type of thing. So, yeah.
So if someone hires you as their financial counselor, how long is a typical session, or how long do they stay with you as long as needed, or do you have a certain amount of time that you spend with them, or how does that work?
Yes, under my current way that it's set up, there's multiple options available. Like some people may just need like a checkup, so like a one-time thing. So I have an 1.5-hour session where I call it my money battle plan session, where we meet, I give homework, then they come to the session and that's where we go over their homework and provide them the big financial picture. You'll be surprised at how many people, once they see that big picture, see it all together, all the numbers on paper, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're probably a little downtrodden from it. They're like, oh, how am I going to get out of this? Which is where you come in.
And that's where I come in. But seeing it at one time really opens their eyes, because we piecemeal it. Oh, I have this, I do this on the 1st, I do that on the 15th. But when you see it all together, that's what's like, oh my God, I'm spending that much on eating out. Or, oh my God, my mortgage is that much, that type of stuff. So, they can hire me based on that one-time session. Or I also have 3 and 6 month program where we meet, like the first time would be for 2 hours, and we would meet every week after that. And that's where that accountability comes in. Right. Like so
Absolutely.
every other week, you're meeting with me to see how you did on the week prior, and just taking it from there. So that's really what is um, the
You
most.
were like,
The accountability is so
yeah.
key. Is so key. People think
Yeah,
they
that
can do it
weekly
on
meet with
their own.
principal. The principal's in the office. We got to meet with the principal about our finances.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Because if you could do it on your own, okay. How has that gotten you? You've been
Yeah.
doing it on your own
Yeah.
all this time.
How's that working?
How's
Yeah.
that working out for you?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, sometimes.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? You mentioned about, how much you spend on food. And my husband and I had, gone to the supermarket. And I thought, why are we spending so much money on food? And then I realized that, before he was out of the house, I was out of the house. Sometimes we ate breakfast, sometimes we didn't, but we mostly ate dinner.
Yeah.
Now we're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home. And
Yeah.
that's additional money right there,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's had to do this quick pivot on their finances and just say, wow, what do we have? Where are we going with this?
Yeah. Exactly.
So in this COVID era, are you seeing different problems with issues with money, or the same, or you're just, pivoting a little bit in how people deal with their finances?
Yeah, of course, within the COVID era is more so of individuals, that lost their income, that may have lost their income, and they have some savings, just trying to the best way to make that stretch.
Right.
Or a lot of people, they're taking this time to better prepare themselves for next year. So, or and on, they don't want to find themselves in this situation again.
Mm-mm.
This has been a wake up call for a lot of people. Some of the things that, you just, going out to eat, or just whatever, it's been a wake up call. So they're like, oh my gosh, what if I lost my job? How would I survive? So they're thankful they may still have a job. So they want to position themselves better for the next emergency that comes up. Because like I said, there's going to be something else. It may not be to the scale of COVID, but there's going to be something else that's challenging to your finances. So it's just really individuals are, trying to prepare themselves, or just really need help trying to stay afloat because they don't know, what to do. So.
Right. And that's scary. A couple years ago, I started, when I would buy something, I would think, okay, can I write this off at the end of the year? I'm like, do I need this? And can I write it off? If it was yes and yes, I'm like, okay, but I think everyone's had to rethink the whole financial thing. If anything, it's put a spotlight on finances where people say, okay, I need to pay attention right now.
Yeah.
No matter how bad the situation is, we need to do steps forward, even if they're baby steps. You take some steps forward.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Ann, how can people find you if they are in need of your services?
Yeah, Kat, the best place to find me is on my website. So that's www.drann without an E. So drannjames.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I hang out there as well, Dr. Ann James, or on Facebook. It's actually Ann James on Facebook. I had to drop the doctor. Who knows what Facebook does. The best way to find me would be on my website, drannjames.com.
Well, Dr. Ann, thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm sure that the audience got some great tips on, even if sometimes it's just a little thing, but it might be huge to someone else.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, Dr. Ann and I met through a mutual person on Facebook. And so we've been chatting it up for a little bit. And I was like, I just asked her to be on the show. So I'm so glad that you said yes. And you guys know where to reach Dr. Ann. Dr. Ann, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, Kat. I really appreciate the opportunity today.
You're so welcome. So I hope you will join us again for episode 11, where I will interview Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, who took her veteran leadership skills to radio. In the meantime, please stay safe, take care of each other. Until next time.